Hello, welcome to South of Left Field. My name is Jimmy. It's later in the day than I typically record. It's been an amazing week. And I say that not in a totally positive way, just absolutely mind boggling. After watching murder in Minneapolis, seeing protests begin to spring up in the Twin Cities first, all around the country, spreading all around the world. I've seen examples of people being their best and examples of people being far less than that. There have been threats and behaviors. They run the spectrum. And it leaves me at a loss. It's one reason I've only just now decided to try recording. What do you say in the face of this? What in the world do you say? I know I have spoken frequently of what South of Left Field means. I've spoken of America being made up of its citizens, America being made up of Americans. There are people in this country who want to see us under a heavy-handed authoritarian regime. There are people who want to see us ruled by a theocracy. But then there are also people who want to try to heal and remove the pain of our history. I think we are, as a people, not aware enough of our history. And when I say our, I mean of America's history. Practicing biological warfare against the Indians, the Native Americans, by giving them blankets from smallpox hospitals and beds, giving them alcohol, knowing that there was a weakness there, massacres, murders, working people trying to organize labor, and time and again the army and hired detectives and thugs beating down people who just want to have a little bit more money in their pockets. People who see, well, the wealthy. And the racism. Oh my God, the racism. I was raised in rural South, in the state of Mississippi to be precise. Lord knows I've seen and heard, still carry the reek of racism. Some things are so bone deep. I don't know. We have to change. Something's got to give. We have a pandemic still unfolding. 107,000 deaths so far in the United States alone. 107,000. And that is worse than any flu season, even on its high ends in the last decade. And somehow the virus seems to have taken a back seat. And now it's all about riots. The thing is, I don't think it's nearly so much riots as it is protests. Yes, there are people out there who are deliberately vandalizing. Yes, a lot of people like to travel to places where there is widespread unrest so that they can burn and loot and steal. Sadly, we have too many violent police. We have a lot of peaceful ones too. I don't know what to say. I know that a great deal of this is fed by the topics I talk about. I mean, when you have a structure, a government, an authority which harbors violent, racist, murderous people and puts them in positions of power. Now, here I'm not just simply talking about high-level political power, but I'm talking about in a position of power in a police force. 8 minutes. That murderer knelt on a man's neck in full public view, shielded by other officers, and then practically bragged about it. It takes a lot of history of supporting people like that and tolerating behaviors like that to build a murderer up to that level. That's what happened. And I'm sure that that's not the only one by any wild stretch of the imagination. I have no condemnation for the protests. I can't support violence. I don't want to support violence. It's one of the reasons that I try to speak each week, because I want to encourage people to exercise their power. Now, if you look in the streets and you look at the protests and you look at the signs, and you'll see people of every age, shape, form, religion, and skin tone who are out there peacefully standing up in public view, putting themselves forward and saying, this is not what we want to see. This is not what we're prepared to tolerate. They're out there speaking condemnation. And here's the thing. Like the laborers who tried to strike to better their positions, like so many people who cry out when the system that they're living in is oppressive and non-supportive, almost brutal. They want a better life. Now, many times in history, for hundreds and hundreds of years, rebellions have occurred, and there's been violence, bloodshed, fighting, strife. And the outcomes from such violent conditions don't very often end up where you want them. I mean, yes, there's some change in the system, generally, and a few things get a little bit better. But it doesn't seem to be worth all the bloodshed, the violence, and the dislocation. Now, in the middle of a pandemic, we have this going on. There are a lot of unhappy people. We still have the power to decide who sits in offices. When you look at a mayor, when you look at city aldermen, when you look at city government, when you look at county government, you look at state government, you look at federal government, we still in this country have the potential to use our votes to actually and truly put people in there who will change things, who will actually strive to improve them. There are well-meaning people to be found everywhere, even in the existing political parties, and there are some well-meaning people to be found in many, many locations. But I'll tell you what, there's too many goats stuck in those sheep, and too many wolves masquerading as guard dogs. We can't trust the existing paradigm. We can't trust the existing system. People who have spent their lives sitting in government offices, sitting in political offices, staffing committees, and all the good buddies and connections that they've got going. They'll do just enough to buy off the people's anger. and then carry on as before. Before we lose our vote, before we lose our ability to vote, I urge everyone to seize the ballot box and turn your back on those in charge. Good, bad, and ugly, they built the system. They regulate it. They decide who goes where. They cover for each other. We've seen it over and over again. We need youth. We need diversity. We need energy. But above everything else, we need people with kind hearts in office. From south of left field, struggling to look through the smoke and the fires, I have hopes that something positive will come from this. Please like and share. Please subscribe if you wish. I appreciate your time, and I wish you well.